Classroom of the Elite is about teenagers in a school where points, challenges, and the danger of getting expelled exists. Intrigue, drama, action. Well, actually, it's just kind of like suspense. And the enjoyment will come from whether you think the main character is a dork or a badass. Think of a death game show without the death and the gore and like sex. So the appeal of Classroom of the Elite is pretty straightforward. It's suspense, but it's also a high school, so there's no need to take it too seriously. Sure, people fight, and I'm sure the risk of death isn't a complete unlikelihood, but at the end of the day, it's just a suspense story in a high school full of stinky hormonal teenagers, meaning you can have fun no matter which way the story unravels. Best way I can describe it is that it invokes the same feeling those thriller series that are engineered for streaming services work. You know, like the characters are enough to pull you along for a certain length of an episode, and then there's short-term setup that will either pay off that episode or the episode after that, and there's also long-term setup that keeps you going till the end of the series. By the way, just to replace episode with volume, and that's pretty much what Classroom of the Elite is. Enjoyment comes for the most part from cracking open the system. This is a school lots of smart but underhanded people go to. They're given challenges that always have clearly outlined rules and ways to win, but of course, the way to actually win is not by following them, but by breaking them and finding loopholes without getting caught. The antagonists know this, and so does Ayano Koji. Most volumes consist of a cat and mouse game of him trying to ensnare someone in his traps or someone else trying to ensnare him in theirs. Seems standard fare for suspense, but the fun comes in the protagonist seemingly being calm and collected, but also having a breaking point. How far can the antagonists push him is linked to how hard he's gonna turn the tables on them. For context, he does eventually just beat a dude to a pulp because it was the most effective way to get things over with. Ayano Koji himself is, okay. It's fun when he goes around messing with people, but he's not necessarily all that likable. I mean, he does kind of blackmail and then Stockholm Syndrome a girl into liking him, which isn't the best. But then again, she's like, I can fix him. So I suppose, if anything, the fact I don't know whether he's a good character or not speaks to how versatile he can be. He is supposed to be a guy that knows how to manipulate and deceive, so the fact that even I'm like, well, I don't know what his deal is, speaks to how well he pulls it off. Basically, he's lacking so many things and is so ambiguous about how he acts that you want to see what his deal is. And by following along in his wacky teenage suspense crime detective thriller action adventures, you pick up pieces of who he is and what he wants to do. I would say the weakest aspect of the series are the side characters. Some are good, some work in service of the story, others just kind of take up space. The main issue is that whenever a battle of the minds starts between Ayano Koji and another person, most of these side characters become completely inconsequential aside from some dialogue here and there. Okay, that's the gist of it. Let's jump into the thick of things, the anime. So a long time ago, I watched the anime for this and just repeatedly kept saying, this is kind of stupid. It wasn't badly made, but it also wasn't great. It was just lacking. Things kind of just happened. There was a reason for why they happened, but no nuance behind that reason. Do I blame it? Well, sort of. You see, unfortunately, Classroom of the Elite is a series that takes 3 volumes to get to the point, and unfortunately, those 3 volumes are the only season of anime that has existed for 5 years. Now, I'm a fan of late game twists. I like it when a series flips things on its head, but it just doesn't translate well to an anime when the twist is like 2 minutes at the very end of episode 12. Classroom of the Elite is a series about interactions, about exchanging info, meaning even simple conversations will often leave the protagonist with some degree of information regarding whatever current predicament he needs to solve. So dialogue is important, and so are the minor observations he has after said dialogue. I guess a weird but apt comparison would be those point and click games. Ayano Koji scurries around clicking on items and having conversations with people until he has enough information to get things going. Of course, unlike those games, he's also pulling off some plan behind our backs. The anime unfortunately cuts a lot of that out, leaving the series with a structure devoid of details to fill it out. To keep going with the point and click thing, it'd be as if the only clickable thing in the area was the crucial piece of evidence, and the only interaction were with the key witness. Another issue with the Classroom of the Elite anime is that it fails to telegraph the nuances of those first 3 volumes. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think it needs to take 3 volumes to get to the point, but the light novel does at least manage to drop breadcrumbs of information throughout them. The anime meanwhile opts to play it straight, which means we have nothing to go on. We're just forced to put up with an apathetic protagonist for 12 episodes. Moreover, the light novel is a lot more on the nose about said protagonist. Even his inner monologue is supposed to be a misdirect, but it's so over the top that you kind of know something's a little off about the dude. So then, when the anime reveals at the end that he's a selfish, plotting, conniving little gremlin, you're just kind of like, oh, okay. because you weren't repeatedly asking what's the deal with this weirdo like you were in those 3 volumes. Maybe it was going for a real shock of a twist by really hiding the protagonist's nature, but without any hints as to who he really is. All that ends up doing is making him kinda average and boring to watch for 12 episodes. In truth, the anime just failing to build up to the twist wouldn't be as bad if the twist was just, oh, he's kind of a sociopath, I guess? But the twist is a reorientation of the story. Up until then, the protagonist was just the sidekick of the female protagonist, and while you knew something was up, you also thought he would still reveal things to her. But it doesn't happen. When the protagonist drops the facade, he does so to blackmail a girl who had been kinda in the background for a while, and she then becomes another female protagonist for the series. Moreover, because she knows who he really is, Ayano Koji doesn't play dumb as much, and we get to see him actually plot out and pull off his plans, and that's when things get fun. When a dude actively starts plotting some heinous shit, when he's on his spreading misinformation shit. This is the appeal of the series, watching someone who's good at manipulating people and events do so while trying to stay out of the limelight. It's nothing new, but it's fun. So, in other words, the anime is the victim of things taking too long to get going, but is also at fault for not hitting on the details that would keep people going regardless. It's serviceable, and if you liked it, then you probably don't mind. This is more for the people that are wondering what the deal is, because the series has exploded in popularity once year 2 started, so I'm sure there will be a lot of hype. So I just kind of wanted to break down what the issue with season 1 was. Alright, later.